Hi, this is Carol Ansel. I am the director of the Godfrey Memorial Library, which is a genealogical research center in Middletown, Connecticut. I wanted to start out by telling you a little story. A friend of mine, Laura, had her minister over for a coffee one morning, and they sat and chatted about various things. They actually got around to some very serious religious conversations. And at one point, he asked her, "Now, Laura, do you ever think about the hereafter?" And she paused for a minute and she thought, and then she said, "Why, yes, I do actually, probably 2 or 3 times a day." And the minister said, "Well, how is that? Can you tell me about it?" And she said, "Well, sure. I'm out here in the kitchen doing something and I go in the other room to the living room and I stand there a minute and I just look all around me and then I say to myself, what am I here after?" Well, I don't know if you're here after death records, but if you are, you're in the right place, because I'm going to be giving a presentation at the New England Regional Genealogical Conference, which will be held in person in Springfield, Massachusetts this year from May 3rd to 6th. And I'll be giving my presentation on Thursday, the 4th at 4:30, which I know isn't always the best time for people, but I think you'll enjoy it if you show up. So I did some brainstorming and I tried to think of all the different places that you could find a death date for someone you were researching. Of course, the most obvious one is vital record collections. You could look in probate records to see somebody's will. You might check early town records. In the very beginning, for many towns, they kept their death and birth and marriage records right in the book with the town records about who had what kind of earmark on their cattle and who was nominated to be the tithing man. You could also look in church records, of course. Oftentimes, if you can't find official town records, you'll be able to find these kinds of things in the church records. In this case, you would probably get a date of burial. You could check family Bibles. There are collections of family Bibles all over the place. Of course, there are cemetery and headstones. They can often give you the date, although I have a case in my genealogy where the date is 2 years off of the real date, so you never know. Then there are sexton's records. Some towns you'll be able to have access to that. Funeral home records can be really interesting. We have several collections at the Godfrey Library that you might be interested in. Of course, obituaries, military records, especially pensions, annual town reports sometimes listed the people in town that died that previous year. You could try a nearby county or even a state that you didn't think of looking in, because sometimes a relative was away visiting someone when they passed away, even though they were buried in the town you would expect to find them in, their death record would not be there. Then there are the census mortality schedules. So if you had somebody die in the year before the census, that would be useful to you. And for those with a strong stomach, you can try the coroner's records. Some of those stories are pretty gruesome. So that's quite a list, and that was almost off the top of my head. Of course, I won't talk on all of those on the 4th of May, probably the first 7 or 8. And I'd love to have you join me. Again, it's the New England Regional Genealogical Conference, and it happens every 2 years. This year in Springfield, Massachusetts, from May 3rd through May 6th. I hope to see you there. Hopefully coming to my presentation is like going to a cemetery. You know, people are dying to get in there. Sorry for that dad joke.